Today, December 19th, 2021, I, Amitov Nariman Iskandarovich. Next to me is Amitov's wife, Elmas Ruslan. We are located in Old Crimea at 30 International Naya Street. I would like to tell you about the events of the 17th, December 17th, 2021. At the same address at around 6 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. I woke up. Hearing knocking and screams. Open the doors of the FSB. I immediately woke up my wife and children and said, "Wait." Now my wife will get dressed. I will open. They insisted. They broke down the door and said, "Now we will fire her." In fact, I think it's about to fly off. Then I opened the door. I was wrapped in a blanket. After I opened the door, I saw them as people in masks and with machine guns. They immediately told me to go to bed. The FSB officers told me to immediately go to bed and lay down in the hallway. After that, they all started coming and wearing masks. My wife came out. They lifted me up and told me to get dressed. I got dressed. One of them was without a mask. He introduced himself as an investigator. I don't remember the last name. I don't remember. More. As Senior Lieutenant Grishchenko. After that, he read the resolution. It said that they suspected me of a terrorist attack. Of a terrorist attack on a gas pipeline. And they told me to pack warm clothes. These warm clothes and the fact that I am now traveling with them. I asked to stay here so that my presence could be searched. They said, "No, you will go now." I later refused this and said, "No, the search is taking place in my presence." To which he said, "If I refuse, they will drag me out." Then I asked to take ablution. They gave it to me. I took ablution. I made a warm jacket, and we went out into the hallway. I saw that the guys had already arrived. They know who reacted to this. It was dark outside, but there was a light on in the yard. Next to me, FSB officers gave the command to turn the car around. I didn't understand what they were talking about. Then I realized the car that was parked on the street. It drove off, turned around, and drove up to my gate. After that, they turned off the lights on the street, bent me head down, pulled the hood up and raised my arms up so that I couldn't get up. So they took me through the gate and put me in the car. They did it so quickly that even my friends who arrived did not notice it.
что даже мои знакомые, которые приехали, они этого не заметили.
Before I even had time to get into the car, they had already started moving and put a bag over my head.
Мешок на голову.
And we drove off. In fact, I thought the guys saw and were chasing this car. But my assumption was this. Because we were driving, I understood what the turn was and where we were turning. I understood that we were going towards the city of Simferopol. We went to Tavrida. There was a turnaround for Simferopol. We turned around. I understood everything. And we drove for about an hour. We were driving somewhere. And we stopped in the city. I felt it. Because there was a different movement. There were traffic lights. We stopped. There were speed bumps. We looped all over the city. Now to the right, now to the left, loops all the way. All this time on the road. The employees did not talk to me. And I did not talk to them or try to. And they meandered throughout the city. Now to the right, now to the left. I thought that the guys were coming after me. They wanted to escape persecution. Then we started stopping for 5 minutes. We stopped and stood. Then we set off and rolled left and right again. And this happened several times. After that, we stopped somewhere in a quiet place. I don't know where, but we stopped in a quiet place. It felt as if there was no longer any traffic in the courtyards or anything else. Noise from cars. We stood there for about 30 minutes. Then the phone rang one of the employees. After that, we set off and started driving to continue moving. We left this quiet place and started driving through the city. But later, I understand that we are leaving the city because there is no such traffic anymore. We drove for about 40 minutes along the highway, but at speed. The road was good. We arrived somewhere in some city. We again made several turns, right, left, then somewhere else, and we stopped. I don't know where it was because I was in a bag and handcuffs. After that, when we stopped, about 10 minutes later, FSB officers told me get up. We go out. I hear the side door open. They both took me by both hands and led me. I understood that we were entering some kind of building. We walked along the corridor, then we went down the steep stairs. Then there were turns to the right and left. We walked and walked like this. Walked in some places, and they bent me over. It felt like we were walking through a doorway. Then again there was a staircase, also down. Also quite deep and long. And again we walked along the corridor taking turns. Again, there were different turns to the right and to the left. And they took me into some kind of room. I understood that this was already a basement. Well, since we were going downstairs all this time, when they brought me into the room, they bent me over. I kept thinking that this was a fake, that they were tilting me. A deception. After they took me into the room, they sat me down. There were about 5 people with me, probably. At that moment they left. I sat on a chair, not understanding where Either 1 or 2 people remained with me. About 30 minutes pass. There was no conversation during this time. FSB officers came and visited us. As I understand it, they settled down, some of them taking their places somehow. After that, one of them lifted me up, took the bag off me, and he sat down on the right side near the door. The door was on the right, and I noticed it was low. That is, this is actually what they are tilting me towards. It was a basement. I noticed that it was painted all in some light color. There was a battery on the left side. It was warm, but the water was noisy all the time. Somehow the glass was constantly being washed away. Something was happening, feeling like a sewer. I can't say for sure, but there were sounds of water. Something was constantly pouring. It happened all the time When they lifted the bag, I saw that about 1.5 meters in front of me there was a Soviet table. It was varnished. There was a laptop on it and some papers.
На нем был ноутбук, были какие-то бумаги.
There was a healthy man sitting at the table. All dressed in black and wearing a mask. In a clear voice. And I will even emphasize with a pleasant voice that he has no accent. He spoke beautifully and evenly. He had a watch on his right hand. It was shiny. Which company? I don't know. I only saw the clock. He gave me. I understand that this is the main thing they have. Because he gave commands to the others. And there were about 4 or 5 of us FSB officers in the room. That is, whoever was sitting in front of me on the right was sitting alone, and there were 2 or 3 behind me. He began his speech by saying that I suspect a terrorist attack on the gas pipeline. I said this is nonsense. I said I am against violence on my part. I am against violence on the other hand. I am against violence on your part. He answered me this. We are also against violence. But you will have to tell everything and sit down at the polygraph machine. To which I refused. I said, I'll tell you everything for the lie detector. The reason I won't sit down is that I don't trust this device. I told them this. At the moment I'm worried. I'm afraid. They're putting pressure on me. Using obscenities, using different methods. I'm afraid of this, that they might accuse me of something that I didn't do. He told me that until he or I lost my pulse, I would sit down at the machine. This I will sit down at this device, and said you have time to think. And he was doing this on the right side near the door. Who was standing? He came up and put a bag over my head. As far as I understand, they left. 1 or 2 people remained with me again. Approximately, well, after about 30 minutes give or take. They are back. And to this one who was all in black, he asked me a question. Why do I know that it was him? I remembered his voice. He tells me, "What have you decided?" To which I answered him, "I am a citizen of the Russian Federation. I have the right to refuse a lie detector." To which he replied, "Your rights are not here. I don't know if some person either came in or was already here." He came up to me and said in a loud bass voice, "What's your name?" I answered him, "Nariman." To which he answered me, "My name is Max." And what did he say? And what did he say? Do you know who I am? I told him no. But I'm afraid. I understand. I'm in the bag. And what will happen now? I don't understand where he can come from. I did not expect torture. Simply, he answers me. I say the one who loosens tongues. I am the machine speaking. I say the state. I came to Crimea to talk, to put pressure on people like you say. I'm saying this. It is not right. I didn't do anything. He said I will do everything. You will tell me everything, and nothing will happen to me for it. But it was all swearing and insulting personality. But I won't say that. And after that he asked me a question, this Maxim. He asked me a question, what did you decide? I asked for a lawyer. I said, bring me a lawyer, and he gives orders to his employees. They lift me up. I do not understand what is going on. I just can't figure out where they are going, how they are dragging me, right, left. They tore out the chair under me. Then I understand that a chair is being pushed under me and tilted. Backrest, it turns out I lie down on the back of the chair. After that, Maxim himself insulted and cursed. FSB officers are holding me. I am in handcuffs. They crushed me. I pressed this chair. He, Maxim, deceived me with tape, pulling me in tightly, squeezing me and insulting me, saying that I was nobody, and so on. I feel that he is shaking and scolding me. I tell him, maybe stop wasting scotch tape on me. He said, I will decide here. And he orders that enough is enough, that it's not enough. Your time has come to speak. After that, my legs were wrapped with hands and my back. My legs were pulled to the legs of the chair, and they were also wrapped.
К ножкам стула и обмотали тоже. Обмотали.
After that, they began to twist the bag. How they twisted it at eye level something like this.
На уровне глаз, примерно вот так.
And by deceiving this place with tape very strongly. And under the ear, they put some kind of rags, or, well, under the ears. And this is how they were squeezed out. She held on. Then I feel that they started tapping the wires there. Them felt it on my face. I understand that they will shock me. To which he asked me what I decided. I haven't changed my mind. I say bring a lawyer. He tells the lawyer. And then there was the first discharge. It was painful. Something was happening to my brain. But I endured. He was there for 2 or 3 seconds. I don't know. He was so drawn out. I endured it and didn't say a word. I went through it in myself. I will hold on, he said. But I understood that I wouldn't last that long. It depends how much they hit. Then came the second blow. I also held out. But here I don't know. Maybe they have this device. It changes. Apparently, enhances eating. They may be adjusting. I received a third blow that I cannot explain what happened to me. My brain was swimming at that moment. I was in control. I didn't control anything. But after this blow, I shouted, that's it, I'll sit down at the device. But to which Maxim answered me, now I will decide when you sit down. And he continued to strike. I thought it was all mine. I won't leave this place anymore. I didn't understand what was happening to my brain. I cannot explain what happened to my brains. They were just jumping, swimming, swimming. I can't explain it. It was painful. This happened 4 times. They did. He didn't stop. after the fourth strong blow, and they stopped 2 not strong ones. I immediately shouted, "That's it. I'll take everything upon myself, whatever you want, even the death of Stalin." It seems that I said so. I don't remember, because I had brains. I can't convey that state of what happened to me. To which they laughed. Then they asked me the question. I will take a polygraph. I said yes. Well, they said that this could not have been avoided. To which I said, "Where's the man who was in black?" He replied, "I'm here. You said that you are against violence." He told me. I also said that you will sit down for a polygraph. I will tell you more. Maxim said this device. He also said something that no one had ever tried. And like the one that unties tongues, he unties my hands and tongues. I want to say that he forces you to tell this language what they need, that it was there. I was ready to take all the blame on myself, whatever they wanted. I would argue if he were sitting behind this device. After that, the FSB officers used a construction knife, which comes out with a blade. Why do I know which knife? Then I saw him. They cut the tape. They lifted me from the chair, turned the chair around and sat me down behind the chair and gave me a pen and paper and told me to write. I had a condition that I cannot describe. I didn't know what was happening. At first, they didn't let me write, but sign the papers. They read out something. I actually don't remember. But I remember, as for the fact that I supposedly have no complaints or something like that. But it was all the same at that moment. I was ready to sign everything. I signed these papers. There were 5 papers in A4 format. 2 signatures each. I wrote so crookedly and askance that they laughed at it. But I had it. I didn't understand what even how. I had no control over my hand. And after that they gave me a blank piece of paper and told me what to write. Up to that point, they dictated to me letter by letter. I couldn't write the word. I wrote down what they told me in letters. And they laughed at it and said, "You're being stupid. So you put me behind this machine again." And it will just be meat here. I considered myself a vegetable at that moment. I didn't understand, because my whole body was crumpled. But the most important thing is not the most important thing. The fact that my brain was all compressed, I can't convey what was happening, and it didn't let me go. I wrote, but I wrote 2 papers. I don't know what the papers are. but I didn't care. After that, they told me that I would need to sit down at the printing department. You need to calm down, catch your breath. They told me to come to my senses. I sat and couldn't pass myself. Before signing, the handcuffs were removed from me. But the bag was not completely removed. They just lifted it up. Probably 15 minutes passed. I more or less caught my breath and began to understand something. They took the bag off me and sat me down at the table, not facing the way I was sitting before, but to the left. That is, they were on my right side. And a man came in a mask. Another. As I understand it, a psychologist who connected the polygraph machine. It's under the thighs. As I was sitting, he was under my thighs. These are the round plates with the wires. I placed them after that with an elastic band stretched. It is adjustable. Here they tighten the chain, and there was a chain and elastic bands on their sides with a bulb like this. Here one was installed here under the poles. It's all about wires. Both to the right and to the left, they hooked two pieces on my finger and told me not to move, look straight with my head, not to shake my legs, not to stomp, to breathe. Smooth. After they connected me, I more or less calmed down. This is the man I first saw wearing a mask. There he explained to me how it works. That is, I only answer his questions yes or no. For example, from the year of birth 1987. Third, he asks the question, your year of birth is 1987. My answer is yes. Your last name is Amitov. I answer yes. I am a native of the Leninskaya district. I answer yes. That is truthful. We got through this. I answered yes. Now he tells me now I ask you questions. The same ones. You say no. We went through that too. Now he tells me your last name is Amitov. I answer yes. I answer no. We are going through this. He asks me a question. Do you understand how to work? And you need to answer yes and no. But you always answer the truth. I say okay, I understand. And after that he gives me 5 questions. I don't remember them, but that's it. But I will say this. The question sounded like this. I brought the phone from Ukraine. They have this information. He asked this question. Did I bring the phone from Ukraine? I answer no. He asks the question. Do I know the employees of the Ukrainian authorities? I answer no. Have you met with any authorities? Did they approach you? I answer no. Did they transfer anything from Ukraine to Crimea? I answer no. And they asked for your last name, Amitov. I answered yes. And this was repeated. He told me before that he would go through these same questions 3 times. But they didn't go through 3 times. They went through 7 or more times more. I answered as it was. I did not care. I answered as it is. We went through these questions. Then other questions were asked, such as, have you traveled to Syria? Would you like to be in Syria? And do you know if you are some kind of terrorist group in Russia? From such acquaintances, I answered no everywhere. And you know the same question, but is your last name Amitov? Yes. I answered yes. Well, yes, my name sounded everywhere. They checked. Yes, my last name was everywhere. And there were other questions like, do you want to deceive us? You are cheating the polygraph. I said no, I didn't deceive polygraph, no either. Well, also last name and so on. And now it all broke through. And this is on the device for an hour and a half. I answered questions using a polygraph. I don't remember all the questions, but I answered all of their questions. After that they wrote a note. He wrote it down on a piece of paper. He wrote the one in black. Who was? He wrote. He came, this one collected the device, took it off me. He left. I don't know at that moment what the positive or not positive answer is for me. This is a fact. Who, I think, is the main black person here, who was the one who gave the command and gave it to his employees. He wrote on a piece of paper and said, read this. I've read it several times. After that he asked if I remembered it. I said no. He says I then hold the sheet and film it on my phone. And you read from the sheet what was written there. I don't remember verbatim. I was shocked, but it was written there to FSB officers. Well, I introduced myself initially. I am Amitov Nariman Iskandarovich. On video. Well, I filmed this on my phone. I have no complaints against the FSB officers. And they did not experiment on me in any way. I wasn't asked to do anything like that. After that, I wrote some more papers. A man came, some kind of FSB officer, and said that you said the truth. You are not involved anywhere. You are not exposed. You are clean. And supposedly we no longer need you. That's what it was. Maybe that's not what it sounded like. Well, something like that. But they told me if I talk about torture, like what happened here in the basement, they are under pressure. They have a paper where I wrote about cooperation with them, and we will show it to Crimea. And we will show this to the Crimean people if you tell us. Here's what happened here. Through our tatters to the Crimean people, we will make you a traitor, and they will be disappointed in you. After this, after a certain time, you will not officially disappear, but our methods are familiar to you. I said, okay, I won't talk.
Я сказал, хорошо, я говорить не буду.
But they made a mistake. They would rather kill me, because I will tell everything that happens.
Буду рассказывать все, что происходит.
After that, they put the bracelets and bag on me again and told me when they had already put them on.
Мешок.
And they told you that the equipment would be returned to you within a week. To which I replied, I don't even understand what equipment. He said the phones that we seized would be handed over to our employees. I don't know how. They said they would hand it over. I forgot one thing. I'll come back. After the electric shocks, when I had not yet been untied, a man came up to me and said, "Tell me the password for your phone." To which I said, "I won't name it for the reason that I don't see anything interesting for you there." He said, "Name it or we will continue." Name it, otherwise we will continue. And I gave my iPhone password. After that he left. Now that's on me, or rather, let's go back to the end. Now, when they put it on me, they all said about the equipment and how they would return it. They began to take me out from this basement. And also, taking me by the arms, they handcuffed me up the stairs, put a bag on me, lead me by the hand. FSB officers also led me out in loops along the corridors, up the stairs, again looping along the corridors and going up the stairs. We went outside and they put me in the car. I didn't understand where they would take me. I didn't know. But I hoped that they would let me go. But there were doubts after this, that I had passed the trust. It simply disappeared. We set off and started moving. We were driving again. Well, we've already been driving for about 0 minutes. About an hour and a half. I arrive. Well, I pull up to the stop where they were supposed to drop me off. They stopped and said, "Nariman, come out, let's get up." I stood up, they put handcuffs on me, and they took them off. I heard the door open, they led me to the door. To the side door. By the way, when I was driving, I realized that this was the same car in which I was driving there. And when they took me out, they took off the bag and pushed me forward and, closing the door, they set off. At that moment, I turned around and looked at bus T5. It seems to be dark blue. I noticed that it had no numbers. It was in Tavrida near the Alliance gas station, turned to Old Crimea. At that moment, Prior Chernaya stopped at a gas station. Refuel. I ran up to the guy and asked for his phone number. That is, he asked for a phone number. He gave me the phone, and at that moment he is filling up the gas station. I dial my wife's phone number. He is not in touch. I used them to dial my daughter's phone number. He's also not in touch. I understand that I can't get through. At that time, I did not know that their phones were also confiscated. This guy tells me, "What happened?" I explained the situation to him. "The FSB kidnapped me this morning. And they just quit." He saw this situation. How I was thrown out of this car. He says this is the car that was driving away. I say yes. I tell him, "Which way are you going?" He says, "Old Crimea." I asked him to take him. He said, "No problem, I'll take it to you." And he brought me home. He brought it home. I thanked him and invited him to come in. He said, "I don't have time. They're waiting for me. I have to go." Well, I went home here. I saw my wife. I saw caring people who came to support my wife at that moment, my family. It's hard to convey and tell how he told me this in words. And then many people came to support, both acquaintances and strangers to me, and neighbors. When Crimea passed to Russia, after these events of 14, I lived in the Leninsky district in the village of Kamenskoye with my parents.
В Ленинском районе, в село Каменское, с родителями.
14th year. Oman and FSB officers also came with a search at 5 o'clock. They woke me up in bed. They were asleep. I opened it. I understood that the light in my eyes was falling, but I could not understand. It was 5 o'clock. I opened my eyes. I understood that it was the muzzle of a machine gun. And when I realized that it was riot police, the FSB, I was shocked. I did not expect to see them in my place. They put me down roughly, that is, they put handcuffs on. It was searched from 5 to 8 o'clock. I really don't remember it. I said no, in 14, on September 10th. There was a search. Nothing was found. After that, I was taken away in handcuffs, loaded, and was being taken out when I saw a picture from the house from the yard to the street.
На улицу я увидел картину.
The population of the village of Kamenki is 95% Orthodox. More than half the village stood my fellow villagers, young, adults, and old. And when they took me out and loaded me onto the bus, my neighbors, fellow villagers, Orthodox people, damn you, they shouted at the FSB, "Do you know who you are taking?" They knew me since childhood. They brought me in this way. They loaded me into a car and brought me to the FSB building in Simferopol. All this time I was not allowed to drink. I was not allowed to go to the toilet. I was humiliated and insulted. There was a crush. And periodically they took me to the boss, as they said, the head of the FSB. And he still left me. I do not know how to say. He didn't raise his voice at me. This lasted from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I was morally destroyed. By the last words of my bosses, but I'll come back. FSB officers. Some insulted me and humiliated me to such an extent, and some said, "We see, you're a good guy, let's say. Be friends with us. Let's be friends with us." To which I said, I am not guilty of anything in order to be friends with anyone. I will go back. Once again I worry and miss a lot. They picked it up the same day. 2014, on September 10th, at the same moment, my cousin brother Amitov, Idrisov, was searched. They also picked him up and brought him to the FSB. But during their pressure, one came and said that supposedly my brother gave it. He began to testify, like, "Come on, come to your senses, start testifying." To which I replied, "Did you beat him, or what?" They said no. And to which I replied then, "This is nonsense, because there is nothing so prohibited that we can hide from you." And they came in 2014. They allegedly received an anonymous message. I don't remember the call somehow. Allegedly, "I am a terrorist. I have explosives, weapons. I trade them," and so on. But they conducted a search and everything was fine. After that, I answered them that why are you talking nonsense? This can't happen. I know my brother well. He is nowhere in such places of this level. He hangs out anywhere and leads a correct lifestyle. But they told me a different situation. The fact that he began to testify, and we would release him, and at the same time they told him the opposite, that I began to testify. And the fact that they will let me go after all this conversation, and so on, and so on. I understood the pressure. There was a conversation between them. That it's soon 6 o'clock, and their working day is over. I realized that I didn't have much time left to wait. I, however, asked them to loosen the handcuffs, because my handcuffs were so crushed by these 2 strips, they cut my skin and blood flowed. But they didn't react to it. Because I asked to read Namaz and take ablution. They ignored it. But the fact that I asked to go to the toilet, because I felt like I was going to go under myself, now they ignored it. They morally insulted me, destroyed me, and in some way they managed to do it. I just felt like an insignificance. Although I know that I didn't do anything. I didn't commit a crime of any level. After that they made this picture. I began to understand this later. At that moment I didn't understand. At 6 o'clock they released me. I was introduced to the head of the FSB. And at that moment my brother was released. And they did this on purpose so that I could see it. Yes, it left me reeling. I couldn't understand what was happening, how this could happen. Well, that can be explained. I couldn't understand it, but they let him go, but they continued to put pressure on me. But since I had nothing to hide and nothing to tell them, the FSB officers brought me to the boss for the last time, and he shouted and scolded me. He said insultingly, "If it were my choice, I would cut you all off." I was sitting not far from him. He had a table. That's how he was behind it, and the table was long. There was a window behind it. And when he shouted this, I saw his drool flying, to which I said, "Don't spit." He answered this. He swears and gives his word that I will rot in prison. I said, if it is the will of the Almighty, it will be so. I was released from the FSB building. I was met by my father, uncle, and I met brother. Well, let's go home. Well, that's not all. Then there were calls, threats of various kinds from different numbers. Even once they were supposedly returning from Kerch. On the way they stopped by to see me. The guys are so kind. The head of the FSB told me that he is very angry with you, and he is sharpening his tooth on you. We see that you are a normal guy. Let's work with us. We promise you a roof. We are the state. We are the government behind us. The government. We will solve your issues everywhere. We need a hidden witness. You will work for us, but no one will know about it. To which I refused. I have nothing to fear. They didn't know how to catch me. But they threatened me and said this will not stop the pressure on you. I understood this, but they could not take me by the hook, catch me.
Но они не могли меня взять за крючок, поймать.
After that time passes,
проходит время.
I was in Feodosia, in the city with a friend on business. I noticed that the car was following me for quite a long time.
За мной машина. Довольно долгое время.
I wouldn't pay attention because I don't need it. I'm not hiding from anyone. I noticed. Why? Because I went to such a place to visit a friend. Our washing machine broke down at that moment. We brought it in for repairs. This is at home. A man is repairing the street there. I don't know. This car turned behind us. We literally stopped after turning 5 houses. It was Feodosia. And I saw that they also turned and stood up, although I have seen this car before. And after I woke up, unloaded the car, left it. I'm leaving the city, leaving that place. I see that they are also leaving and going to turn around behind me. I realized that they were being followed, so I decided to check them out. It's funny to me. I have nothing to lose. And I have nothing. There's nothing in the car. What to hide? I often mock them. I stopped, they stopped, and so on. Well, this continued for some time, and that was all. I made a deceptive maneuver, turned into the street, picked up speed, and turned around. They were driving towards me. I drove to the main road and left. I didn't see them after that. But this was also not the last. The security officers came to see me.
Работники, опер, полномочий.
In 2016, about 2016. It was January. I don't remember the date. Seven people came. Supposedly some kind of Ivanov. They came to my home. At that time, I also lived in the Leninsky district, the village of Kamenskaya. They came to the same place where the search took place in 2014. I also lived there with my parents. These people in civilian clothes came, presented their documents, and said that a dangerous person has disappeared. And we are looking for him, and we have information that he is hiding in Kamenskoye on Zareknia Street. And we are doing a survey and asking you. Do you know such and such? But I, who gave my first and last name, they named my middle name. I don't know such a person. I told them because this is reality. I told them that I live here, was born here and live here. This is the first time I've heard such a person. To which they told me, we understand, but we are doing our job. We must show our work in front of our superiors. You can fill out a survey with your details, and we will write what we asked you to do. I said yes, of course. And they also asked who lived at this address. I said their father, mother, family, sister, middle sister, and younger sister, disabled. And I read that I don't know such a person. I signed up and gave it away. They left about a week after this survey. The same people came to me.
ко мне являются эти же люди. Эти же люди
These
и
same people
спрашивают.
ask, and I go out outside.
Я
Winter,
выхожу,
cold.
зима холодно.
And
И
they
они
ask me a
задают мне
question,
вопрос.
not a
И
question.
вопрос, они мне говорят.
They tell me why you lied to us,
Почему
that you don't
вы
know this
солгали
man
нам
and have
в
never
том,
seen or heard
что
about him when he lives
этого
with you?
человека вы не знаете и никогда не видели, ну, не слышали о нем. Тогда, когда живет он у вас.
I
Я
caught the
поймал шок,
shock.
и
I
я был
was shocked.
шокирован.
Why are you laughing? There was a conversation of this kind. I don't remember verbatim. They tell me, and after that I say this is not true. There's no such thing. Can you ask your neighbors, whoever you want? One of them speaks into the walkie-talkie. We entered, and immediately I noticed that riot police came in, and immediately the search began again. I got screwed again. It all started again. The search was thorough. I had never seen such a search before. They turned over everything, every little thing, searched every crevice.
Каждую щель, даже их.
They even had witnesses come with them. Witnesses came with them, and these witnesses helped them in the search. This happened in 2014 as well, and this happened in 2016. After that, a search was carried out. Nothing was found. But I thought I was finished, because the head of that FSB, he promised me and swore that he would put me in prison. I think he decided to keep his word, and I'm done for. No, they didn't take me. They didn't find anything. But they couldn't have found me if they hadn't dropped me off. But thank God they didn't drop me off. But before leaving, some people came up to me again and said this will continue constantly until you come to Simferopol to our superiors and start talking and start cooperating. I said no. They said, think about it. You have time. They left. Again, no papers were left, either in 2014 or in 2016. Now time passes. They don't touch me. Also at night I was driving home from work. I was working at that moment in 2017. In 2017. It was around August. I could be wrong. I'm with a friend. After work, was working on a truck at 2 o'clock. Well, it didn't happen 2 by 2, but that was before. We left cars and trucks at the base. We went home in a passenger car, and the FSB also cut us off on the road. Cut off one person. He lives 70 kilometers away, but there were a lot of attacks on us there. After that, we were like they were there. It was around 2 o'clock. By the way, there was one Dagestani with them. He spoke out very strongly. This touched me. And I told him to watch his conversation. He provoked me very much. But we parted in high spirits just like that. We went home. Well, we got home. My friend went to his house. I was in myself. I receive a call. But it was no longer a Dagestani, but a different FSB officer. But why? I say, the officer. I didn't say that they provided identification, but when he called me, he introduced himself as an FSB officer and said, we need to meet and talk. I said, I won't date you. To which he said to me, Are you so greyhound and fearless? We saw you. He provoked me on my pride, wanted to drag me out of the house. But I'm not a stupid person to buy into it. I said I have no business with you. And that's all. Okay. I don't know what to expect. I called a friend. A friend came to me, and we sat together, not knowing what to expect. Because I was worried. After a while, I got married. In the same year, 2017, I got married and moved to the old Crimea in the Leninsky district. This was the last event. I moved to old Crimea, and that's it. Now also, some time passes. This is, if we start from this time about a year and a half ago, I received a call. At that moment, I was repairing a truck. The repairs were done here, in the old Crimea. The phone rings. I pick it up. Unknown number. The FSB introduces itself to me and says we need to meet. To which I said I have nothing. I have no time and no need to meet with you. He answered me, you also live in the Kirovsky district. I was shocked because this was the first meeting. The first call in general was when I started living in Old Crimea. Old Crimea belongs to the Kirov region. I said yes, we will go tomorrow. We will call you. Decide for yourself whether to meet either at your home or in a neutral zone. I said no man's land. Also, on the second day I was repairing the car, they are already calling. I pick up the phone. They say we have passed Belogorsk. Soon we will be on the old Crimea road. Well, they came to old Crimea. We are with them. I met with them. There were 2 FSB officers, and with them there was 1 psychologist. He was with the device. This is from their words. I'm telling you, he had a polygraph machine. This psychologist who was there, he was on these tortures. He also tested me with a polygraph. Although he was wearing a mask, I recognized him through this gap. I remember those eyes. It was him. They asked me questions. They were interested in Ukraine. To which I said, are you interested in Ukraine? They tell me yes. We have complete information about you, but we want to hear it from you. I said, okay. Since what year have you been interested in this? Since 2014. They say yes. I say, okay. The question for you is this. From 2014 to today, how many times have I traveled to Ukraine? They are all confused. They couldn't answer this question. They couldn't answer this question, and I say, I'll tell you, but they started referring. We don't remember, we'll have to look, and I said I have nothing to hide. I'll tell you, I've been twice. First time for some reason, the second time for some reason. I have nothing to hide. We believe you, he says. But we have to show our work, and they want to put me on a lie detector.
Polygraph.
What I didn't know at that time was that I could refuse this lie detector. I told them, and you don't even have any paper for me to sit on this detector. They said, okay, let's go. Get in the car. Let's go to the Kirovsky District Department of Internal Affairs. We'll write there now and check it out right away. I said I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
И я
And I'm not going anywhere without paper. They said then we will bring it ourselves. They went and will come and call. They went to the Kirovsky District Department of Internal Affairs and told me they wrote a piece of paper. They came and dialed me. I was at work. I repeat, I was working at that moment repairing a truck. They arrived, gave me a piece of paper. Now they say, let's go. I say no, I'll go home now, take a shower and change into clean clothes. They say it's okay, it's on its way, so I say I won't go like that. I received a paper from you. You are coming. Wait for me, I will come, to which they answered me. We are waiting for you then here, in no man's land, where we met at the gas station. I said okay. I contacted the guys, the lawyer, because I don't know how to act in this situation. And I always didn't know how to act in such situations. I have never advertised this. But I understand that they will not leave me alone, and they want to hook me, and they do not hide it. They want me to work with them. They want me to act as a hidden witness. They want everything in this direction so that I can serve them. But I did it differently here. I disclosed it. After that, I took a shower and changed clothes. At this moment, the guys were already waiting for me. There, the lawyer contacted everyone in the cafe. I got out of the car and was driving towards them, but past the gas station. They saw me driving by and followed me. But I stopped at a cafe. I stopped. After I started going into the cafe, they dialed me like, where are you going? I say, I'll be right back. They explained this paper to me. They were FSB officers. They made 2 mistakes. I don't have to go anywhere this time. Secondly, it turns out that the Russian state does not oblige me. I have the right to refuse this procedure. But I found out then. Now I can hear it all. I went out and they were waiting. I went out to them and approached them and told them all this. I say, guys, you made 2 mistakes here. These are these. I do not go anywhere, and I can refuse a lie detector as a citizen. To which they told me, wait. They closed the window, and he began to call someone. I walked away. Then he opened the window, called me. I came up, and for the first time he showed his teeth. For the first time he showed his teeth and his essence. He showed how much hatred he had for me. And he told me, wait. Wait, he said and said, don't change your phone number. To which I answered him today. Before that, I haven't spoken since today. Everything that happens to me, I will notify it to the whole world, the whole world. And he said the number for me, and I answered him that too. Since I purchased a Russian card in 2014, I have never changed it. Whatever I used, I still use, not because I'm afraid of it. If I were afraid of them, I would have left. As my parents and relatives told me, when leaving for Ukraine, to go somewhere. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of your illegal actions. What you are doing to me is what I experienced on December 17th. It would be better if you killed me. I will always be against violence.